As you start to look at your assets, it's really important that in fact, it's just a great time to look at your insurance. Because what we really want to do with insurance is to make sure that your assets are covered. So it really doesn't matter whether it's having your insurance for your building, or maybe some certain types of equipment, or for your general liability, or even for your employees. A great time to review insurance when you're starting to look at making changes. It's always a good thing to do on a regular basis, and I always suggest you do it with an insurance broker, preferably in person, because it's really important for you and your insurance broker to both know exactly what's going on in your business. There's lots of times when I talk to somebody and I ask them about their business and they forget little things. Like, oh yeah, we do have that big machine over in the corner that probably needs insurance. We own it. There's no loan on it, but it's a great idea to make sure the coverage is right. So if something did happen to it, it could be replaced. Now, when you start thinking about that, and as you're going into a sale of your business, you really want to look at helping to have coverage proper for you and the new buyer. Now, this especially is true if you have a long-term contract on the purchase. Maybe you're working with somebody over several months. You want to make sure that you're both covered, crosswise, so that if something does happen, there won't be an issue. Now, I think about this with even the people. Making sure they have the proper coverage, so if one can't fulfill their duties, that the transaction can still complete. It's oftentimes that we look at the proper coverage for a sale transition is cross coverage in life insurance to make sure that both people can complete the transaction. Now, a true story, a friend of mine called me a few years ago and she said, my husband and I are ready to sell our business. It was a HVAC business. And she said, we want to sell it to our son, but we want to make sure that we do it right. Could you come out and help us, talk to us a little bit, and tell us what we need to do about insurance? Well, we went through their business insurance, and they had everything very well in line. They've been in business a lot of years, and the current owner, the husband and wife, were both very cognizant of what they were doing, so it was a good thing. So we talked a little bit about what would happen down the road, and I learned that they were going to move. They were going to pick up and move to a different state, and that they wouldn't be around to actually help with anything should the new owner, the son, need some help. So we talked about that, and we decided that the best course of action was to make sure we had a life insurance policy for that key person, and the key person being his son. They were going to take payments for 10 years, and as they did that, the balance would come down each month, but we'll just keep the term life insurance policy at 10 years for this younger man. It was only about $30 a month, so it wasn't a big deal. Well, sure enough, it became a big deal. Last year, when I heard that the new owner, the son, had passed away from a heart attack, very sudden event in his demise. So I called the mom and the dad and said, hey, I know it's a rough time. I just want to make sure that you know that we have that policy. And they'd actually kind of forgotten about it. So we talked a little bit about it. I explained to them that it was for the whole price and that they were about halfway through the policy. And the first thing the wife said was, let's make sure that half of that goes to my son's wife, my daughter-in-law, to make sure she can run the business and pay off some things. She's going to need some help too. So we were able to take a really bad situation, get the previous owner paid off, but also to help the new owner, get going again. So having a key person type policy is really important. And it really doesn't matter if it's a family member, but I know a lot of you look at maybe selling your business to a friend or a key person in your business, or maybe even a family member. And if you're going to do that, make sure that you sit down with your insurance broker and make sure that everybody understands where you're at. The worst thing that could happen in that situation is if nobody got paid and the previous owner had to come back and run the business. That's not what they wanted to do. So key person insurance is important. Having proper coverage of all your insurance needs is vital, especially when you're going through a time of sale. People have a tendency to get a policy on like a building and they never update the value of the building, but you want to make sure that's all updated as you go into your sale time. So speaking of selling and how much things are worth, I think it's a great time to pass it over to John and have him talk about how much your business is worth. Thanks so much.